All right, we're coming up near the end of January, and way back in November, Elon was promising that he would provide a Cybertruck production update in a month or so, and we never really got that. So I do want to keep you guys in the loop, and in today's video, I'm just going to be letting you know essentially everything we know about the Cybertruck so far, and also we did get a tad bit of information on yesterday's earnings call. So nothing really to get super pumped about, but Elon did say that the designing tweaking of the Cybertruck is done. So they have a production ready model, as in they don't want to bring any more changes to it, and they essentially now want to divert efforts to figuring out how to mass produce it, and they've already started looking into having to purchase certain equipment to be able to scale this vehicle, which Elon has said it's not going to be easy to build. And apparently there is a casting press that they plan on using for the rear underbody part of the Cybertruck. Now, to give you some perspective, the Giga Press we talked about recently that is used for the rear underbody of the Tesla Model Y, that is 6,000 tons. Yes, tons. And because of that extreme weight, that's why you see a lot of foundational work going into gigafactories before the facility even has walls up. And that's why they're installing the Giga Press before they even finish the entire facility, because it's so heavy. And the Model Y casting press is the largest one in the world. And apparently the Cybertruck is going to beat that even at 8,000 tons. Basically, yeah, 30% heavier than the press they're using for the Model Y. And that's just for a single component. That does not even take into consideration all of the complex and intricate manufacturing techniques that are going to be needed for the Cybertruck exoskeleton. Elon has been on the record talking about before how the steel is so tough and durable that you can't use traditional casting presses with the exoskeleton. That's not what the 8,000 ton gigapress is going to be used for. There's going to be different pinching and clamping techniques to get that shape down and to be able to scale it at a unprecedented rate because Cybertruck demand is so high. And that was pretty much the end of the Cybertruck update on the earnings call. It's that they have finalized a design, and in a couple months are going to start installing equipment to mass produce it at Giga Texas. And he also said if they're lucky, they'll be able to do a few Cybertruck deliveries at the end of 2021, but I really do want to emphasize that if we're lucky thing here, okay? So the fact that they're on the record for now saying Giga Texas will build the Model Y first means that it's highly likely we probably won't see the Cybertruck deliver until 2022. I would say that's a somewhat reasonable timeline. They said on the earnings call that's when volume production will start. But again, if Giga Texas miraculously goes up even more ahead of schedule than it already is, and they're able to ramp the Model Y and they're able to ramp the Cybertruck at the same time, then you might see a couple deliver by the end of 2021. But hey, hopefully we can get like an update of some kind, and he can tweet out some new designs or some little updates here and there. Like, he did drop a little Easter egg. He was talking about how the Cybertruck door handles are going to be super flush with the stainless steel, showing someone on Twitter that basically when the steel was lined up with the rest of the piece it was a part of, you couldn't even tell there was a seam, meaning that when the Cybertruck door handles are inward, you would barely be able to see them. Maybe that's just something they want to achieve someday, but not necessarily something they have figured out right now. And probably something we can derive from the Model S and X refresh that so many people are excited for, including myself, is that there's a decent chance that that prototype steering yoke, not a wheel we saw at the Cybertruck unveil, that might actually make it to production, because there was a lot of disagreement in the comment sections about, you know, is the steering yoke even legal? How can Tesla release something like that? And I've even reported on it in the past too, because I've been told through several different sources and news sites that that type of steering yoke is not legal on production vehicles. But then doing some more research, we have not really been able to find exact paperwork or exact explicit filings elsewhere that says you can't have a steering yoke like that. Apparently there are other production vehicles on the road like that. It's just not a very mainstream decision, and maybe understandably so, because a lot of people seem pretty upset about this updated design. And also now seeing Elon make his tweets about no need for gear stocks anymore, I think it's reasonable to assume the Cybertruck will likely be quite similar in that way. No gear stocks, which means contextually both the Model S and X refresh and now the Cybertruck are going to be able to tell by looking at your surroundings when you need to go in reverse and when you need to go in drive. And normally I would be kind of against that type of thing, but I'll probably tick off a few people here. I kind of understand why they want to do that, because Tesla's all about, you know, the best part is no part, the best process is no process. And I have to agree that around 90% of situations in which you need to go in reverse or when you need to go in drive, you could probably have the car be able to detect based on its surroundings, like, okay, there's a wall in front of me or there's a car in front of me. The car is not going to need to go forward, so might as well automatically go in reverse. And then you'll typically go in reverse at a certain speed for a while, and then you slow down to a stop, or or the front-facing radar and cameras are able to detect either a driveway or a roadway or an opening and be like, okay, now the driver can go forward, let's go ahead and switch it to drive, and that way in the future, you won't even have to press the gear stalk to go in reverse or drive. And if there's a certain situation where it needs to be a little bit different because you're like, no, even though the car wants to put me in drive, I need to go in reverse, then you can still default to the screen. You can just tap drive or reverse right on the screen, which is probably a little bit harder than just pushing down on a gear stalk because that's something you don't have to look at, you can just feel for it. And while it will absolutely take some getting used to, and there's a lot of people upset by this design choice, I personally think we'll get used to it in time, just like the center display on the Model 3. I remember when they first unveiled that, everyone was saying that's crazy, you can't get used to that, you need the speed right behind the steering wheel, and having to do everything on a 15-inch display is going to be too complicated and dangerous, and it really hasn't been. I mean, these are some of the safest vehicles tested on the road, and people have gotten used to them. Model 3 and Model Y are a great success, and after driving for a while, people get comfortable with it, so I think we might see something similar with the yoke design on the Cybertruck as well. People look at it and say, that's terrible, that sucks, I'm gonna hate it, and then they start using it, and they start getting used to it, and they start taking advantage of the AI being able to detect, okay, you don't need to go forward, okay, you're done going backwards, and eventually we'll just seamlessly integrate it into our lives. But yeah, some other news for the Cybertruck that might not exactly be a confirmation, but more speculation on my part is, now that the Model S and X have a 17-inch centered display with a resolution of 2200 by 1300, the Cybertruck also has a 17-inch landscape display. It's probably safe to assume we now know the resolution of that screen, because I'd be pretty surprised if they ended up going with a different display for the S and X than from what they're putting in the Cybertruck. You know, the external way it's mounted to the dash and everything might be different, but the display panel itself, I'm guessing the resolution is going to be 2200 by 1300. So we know that now, and as soon as we know any more information on the Cybertruck, I'll be sure to keep you guys posted. I am as sad as you are that we haven't gotten those new tweets yet on what the production model will actually look like. So Tesla might have won over the steering yoke design, but at this point, they still can't get away with no side view mirrors. So that's still something they might need to address. Feel free to let me know what other questions or ideas you have for the Cybertruck design, because it's probably one of the coolest things Tesla has ever done, and I'm a big fan of it. So appreciate you all watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.